describe those, and then what implication might that have for the management of weight.
And out of this came what you described as 5 personality types. Is that correct?
Well, I like calling them eating styles.
Eating styles.
Because a personality type would suggest that you're stuck with it. And I'm not sure that people are really stuck in one eating style. I think they probably move from one style to another during different phases of their life, or depending on whether things are going well or they're in a stressful period, they may change styles. So it's not quite as fixed as personality.
And we want you to talk about the various styles after Dr. Walker gives us some information about some of the ethnic considerations in terms of these problems. Dr. Walker.
Well, currently, what I'm doing right now is we currently have an adolescent obesity clinic at Metro General Hospital, and I provide psychological services via individual psychotherapy and group psychotherapy. First, I'll start in terms of, I'm looking primarily at females because this obesity is a condition that disproportionately represents Black females, and being a Black female, I have a special interest in terms of that area. In terms of working with adolescents, I am in the I'm Director of Psychological Services in the Child Development Center at Meharry, so I'm working with adolescents, so that is a population that I'm interested in addressing. In terms of special considerations, my overall focus in terms of the program is to focus on wellness. I know at the beginning of the program you talked about diet. I think the term diet has a negative connotation. When people mention the term diet, they're automatically under scrutiny by society. For example, if you announce to others that you're quote unquote on a diet, then people, they watch what you eat. If you select something that others feel that should not be quote on your diet, then they make comments like, that's not on your diet. Well, I think that increases anxiety, and it causes other social pressures that can also stimulate overeating and sabotage the diet. And when I work with people, I like to talk about healthy lifestyles. And the adolescents that I work with, they are severely obese, and it's just been very amazing to me that we have such a vast obese population here in Nashville among adolescents. And my concern, principal concern, is with their health. Of course, associated with the psychological problems are the associated health risks. And in working with these kids, I've run across kids who have problems with renal failure, sleep apnea, and problems that you generally think that obese adults would have. Now, those problems are important in terms of psychological implications because we're not only talking about addressing issues that are related to obesity, but we're also talking about addressing issues that are related to their feelings about having illnesses that are associated with really whether or not they live or die. So I think these are important implications. In terms of social considerations and ethnic differences, when we talk about wellness and we talk about weight reduction, I think one of the reasons that diet programs have failed is because people try to fit themselves into this certain mold in terms of I'm 5'6", I should weigh 130 pounds, where I think there are individual differences that should be considered. And when you're talking about minorities, particularly Black females and Black female adolescents, we have to talk about differences in cultural standards. In general, research has shown that Blacks, particularly Black females, are more tolerant of higher weights or a few extra pounds. Now, that does not generalize to being more accepting of being obese, but they can tolerate a few extra pounds. So that's something to consider when you're talking about establishing weight goals. I think another important consideration to look at is what is healthy. You know, if you weigh 200 pounds, and that may sound a lot to some people, but if you weigh 200 pounds and you weigh 400 pounds before, and you have a healthy attitude, you have high self-esteem, if you're able to have a good overall quality of life, and you're eating healthy, then that may be realistic for you. I think that the pressures that society place on people to weigh a certain amount according to their height just sabotages the whole process. And what I'm interested in is more wellness. So when I counsel adolescents and when I counsel females, I ask them to look at what's realistic. Another consideration is food preference. Another reason that I think diet has a negative connotation, when people think of diet, they generally think of some type of routine, structured eating program. I think in order for people to be successful in terms of healthy eating habits and behaviors, you need to incorporate some of the healthy behaviors that are already a part of their repertoire in their diet. One of the specific examples that I can use in terms of working with adolescents, and just as a cultural difference, African Americans tend to like spicy and hot foods. And in working with the nutritionist I work with and in working with the physician, we take those cultural considerations into account. So when we talk about working on changing behaviors, well, that may be something that may be feasible. If we're going to get these adolescents to, let's say, substitute chicken without the skin, then it's okay to put a little hot sauce on the chicken if that's a part of their particular culture. And we're also talking about individual differences. So we want to make the program individual specific as well as culture specific. And I think the same thing holds true when we work with adult females in terms of taking those differences into account. And also, just in terms of other considerations, you know, economics is very important in terms of the things that you're able to buy, time considerations, and those types of things may vary from person to person. So those are some of the kinds of things that we're looking at. And unfortunately, to date, there are very few studies which look at specific factors or identify what are the standards for African American populations that we need to look at when we start evaluating black populations. So those are some of the things that I'm doing and interested in studying so I can add to the literature, because right now we really don't know, but these are some of the things that I found to be helpful. And in terms of being a psychologist, we're talking about changing behavior, and once we change our behavior and attitude, the weight eventually will drop off. So that goes back to the issue in terms of when I hear the word diet and also the word obese. Obesity or being obese, that also has a negative connotation.